In Rebirth 5, the final chapter of Radiant Dawn, we have our final showdown with Ashera, Goddess of Order. Yuni attempts to convince her to stand down, but unfortunately Ashera is dead set on wiping the earth clean of living things. Ike also makes a request for one final chance, but when words fail, he is forced to resort to the most convincing argument of all: violence. Ashera is one of the more interesting final bosses in the Fire Emblem series, because unlike most other final bosses, it tends to take more than one turn to defeat her. Ashera starts the battle immune to damage, and to even attack her, we must destroy 8 auras that surround her, which each have 90 HP and a damage reflection effect. All the while, we will have to deal with her powerful AoE and single target attacks, as well as spirit reinforcements every turn. My deployments for this map are pretty much the same as in previous chapters, except I have benched Soth and Sonagi to bring Nasir and Gareth. And additionally, on turn 1, Sephiroth joins us to save humanity, having found hope for the world once again. However, our actions in the near future will only prove that he was actually completely right about everything, and that humanity does indeed deserve to perish. Beating this chapter is not too difficult if you try to do it quickly, because dragging out the fight is generally not favorable. Reinforcements will spawn in increasing numbers all the way until turn 100, and Ashera's AoE attacks hit your entire army and are difficult to withstand for more than a few turns. But the entire run has been building towards my ultimate plan for this map, and I have no intention of backing down now. Normally, you must defeat Ashera by landing the final blow with the Ragno, and any other lethal blow will simply result in the goddess surviving. On hard mode specifically, she will revive with her full 120 HP every time. While this means that only Ike can finish the job, it also means that as long as we don't use Ike, anyone else can still deplete Ashera's HP an infinite number of times. This might be the only case in Fire Emblem where we can repeatedly kill the final boss over and over, however many times we want. Killing Ashera once is not too hard, but killing her, say, 1,000 times can actually be quite a challenge. In most normal playthroughs, people would run out of healing resources from Ashera's intense AoE attacks, but with some careful planning, I have managed to create an optimal setup that is capable of reliably and repeatedly killing the Goddess of Order ad infinitum. But before any of this can come into play, I must get through the first 100 turns of reinforcements. In normal play, you could just deal with them as you go, but if you want to defeat Ashera 1,000 times, it's smarter to deal with all the riffraff separately. The spirits are not individually powerful, but it takes a lot of effort to handle them while dealing with everything else, so I begin the map by hiding everyone in the corner to wait out and defeat all 100 turns of reinforcements. Normally, Ashera's AoE attacks will deal significant damage to everyone, making sustaining a long-term battle difficult, but her AoE attacks actually have damage fall-off based on range. They will deal 3 less damage for every tile you are away from her, and you can easily get 7 or more tiles away from her by going to the edge of the map, drastically reducing the damage you take and making it surprisingly survivable. By also making use of cover and wardwood tiles to increase defense and resistance, as well as healstone tiles for a small amount of passive healing, Ashera's attacks are basically reduced to nothing. To handle the spirits who all have a massive 20 movement, I create a diagonal wall consisting mainly of high resistance characters, and as a result, Sephiroth has once again found himself being used as a human shield, just like he was in Path of Radiance. By creating this wall, I'm able to block the spirits, which lets me protect my characters with lower resistance, and I decided to use this opportunity to train Leonardo and Shinon by having them attack from 3 range with their marksman range bonus, allowing them to rapidly level up. But unfortunately, despite going through the effort of grinding Leonardo to his level cap in the final map, he gets subpar level ups and ends up being kind of garbage. Shinon does better, but despite the effort I took to bring these 2 characters and train them, they will be all but useless for the upcoming tasks. As the spirits continue spawning, first 1 and 2 at a time, and then 3 per turn, we eventually fight nearly 200 spirits over the course of 100 turns, after which they are completely exhausted and stop spawning. I approach Ashera and repeatedly use triangle attacks to take out her auras, a rather lengthy and crude process that takes several turns. This wasn't very optimized, and to make up for my lack of plan, I repeatedly used the Fortify staff to keep everyone at max HP, but soon I'm able to take out all the auras, leaving only Ashera left. This whole process of taking out all the reinforcements and auras took around 2 hours in real time, and around 108 turns. With only Ashera remaining, it would be trivial to just defeat her right then and there, but only defeating her once would not be enough. At this point, I have a bit of a grudge against this game, and I simply would not be satisfied unless I managed to defeat Ashera 1,000 times. I picked this number because it's quite big and unreasonable enough that it would motivate me to optimize the process of killing God and to become exceedingly efficient at it. To this end, I have prepared 7 triangle attackers who can each do a ton of damage to Ashera, but just damage is not enough. A couple couple of the most important things I've considered when fighting Ashera is that she has very high avoid and she does a lot of damage. Triangle attacks are guaranteed hits, which solves the accuracy issue, but taking counter attacks from her is very undesirable and can lead to characters being killed. So far, I've managed to mitigate the effects of Ashera's attacks by being far away, but up close I do not have that luxury. Healing staves are one way to sustain HP, but they are unfortunately a limited resource and cannot be depended on in the long term. So instead, I mainly depend on passive healing, such as the Imbue and Renewal skills, as well as Raisin's Blessing and Recovery Galdar, which was only obtainable by grinding him to level 40. While I do have some sources of infinite healing, it can only do so much every turn, so my attacking strategy is dependent on facing as few counter attacks as possible. My ace in the hole is Rolf, who specifically can deal damage without being counterattacked by attacking at 3 range. With a speed and strength boost from Aina and Asir, he's also able to one-round Ashera with a double bow. His first attack will benefit from the triangle attack and be a 93 damage crit, which would then be followed by a second attack for 31 damage at 60 to 80% hit, depending on his biorhythm. Even if Rolf cannot secure the kill, I can simply have someone else follow up, which would defeat Ashera, thus causing her to not counterattack. Additionally, a fully buffed Alencia can deal 120 damage in a turn, which is enough to knock out Ashera in one round. Oscar, Boyd, Marcia, Sigrid, and Tanth can also lay in damage in various amounts to get or secure additional kills and further improve the kill count. My initial strategy is to try to get as many kills as I can in each turn. I set up Gareth, Aina, and Asir in a triangle formation to buff my triangle attackers extensively, allowing many of them to double and deal a ton of damage. By using Kanto to repeatedly move my flyers around, I'm able to take advantage of these positional buffs with nearly all of my characters. With this setup, I'm able to score a good 4 to 5 kills per turn. Unfortunately, by having so many units near Ashera, her AoE attacks are truly brutal, and on some turns I'm unable to get any kills simply because I need to scramble to keep everyone healed. I use my Fortify staff, which is running out of uses even after being repaired multiple times with the Hamurn, but once I run out of that, I will have to depend solely on my infinitely sustainable healing sources, which while powerful, have a low throughput. I keep going with this complicated setup for around an hour, scoring around 75 kills, but this is rather slow considering that I want to get 1000 kills in total. To lessen the tedium of performing this excessively repetitive task, I streamed this whole chapter on YouTube to a live audience, setting a hard time limit of around 12 hours if I wanted the VOD to be usable. So in other words, I would need to further optimize this setup to kill Ashera more times per hour to achieve my objective of getting 1000 kills within this 12-hour time limit. Around this time, as I was repositioning my units, tragedy struck as Gareth was killed due to my carelessness. Because of his low speed and resistance, he is particularly vulnerable to being one-shot by Ashera on this map if he's not at full HP. This was rather unfortunate, but it was probably inevitable because I was bound to screw up at some point. That said, at this point I was in too far to reset, and my final setup probably didn't need him anyway. Using too many characters was costly in terms of time and thought. It takes a lot of time to move everyone around, and it takes a lot of healing and thinking to keep everyone alive. More units nearby means more AoE damage taken, so by reducing my setup to the minimum amount necessary, I will be able to reduce the amount of damage I take, and thus the amount of healing I will need to do. By aiming for a less complicated setup and fewer kills per turn, I figured I would be able to score more kills per hour by making each turn go by faster. For my optimized setup, I moved away all the unnecessary characters to be safe on the edge of the map, leaving only the necessary characters near Ashera. My main damage dealers were Oscar, Boyd, and Rolf, with Nasir and Aina buffing Rolf, Alencia giving Rolf some additional accuracy via a support bonus, and Raisin for his healing and dancing effects. Oscar and Raisin are able to self-sustain by healing with Imbue, allowing me to keep everyone else topped off with only Raisin's Blessing and Recovery Galdar. With Aina and Asir's buffs, Rolf is able to safely kill Ashera 1 to 2 times per turn. If he misses his second attack, Oscar can finish the job, and if I don't need to heal, I can get a second kill by having Raisin refresh Rolf. After taking some time and switching to this method, I managed to drastically increase my kills per hour from around 70 per hour to around 200 per hour. As I locked in and focused, my peak rate of killing Ashera was 258 goddesses per hour. I managed to continue at a steady pace of around 200 kills an hour, and near the 8-hour mark of the stream, after 6 hours of consecutively killing Ashera over and over, I landed my final kills. For my 997th kill, I have Leonardo land the killing blow, Boyd gets a 998th, Alencia gets a 999th, and finally, for my 1000th Ashera kill of the session, I finally let Ike attack for the first time this entire chapter to take down the Goddess of Order once and for all. After launching the attack, we cut to a cinematic cutscene where Yuna empowers the Ragnar with her energy, starting a combat cutscene where Ike attacks and completely misses his first blow. After getting clocked by Ashera's magic, Ike attacks again, finally defeating Ashera once and for all, both ensuring the continued existence of humanity while simultaneously proving that Ashera was completely right, that humanity does not deserve to exist because of its unattenuated capability for cruelty and slaughter.